I want to talk about purpose today because I feel like that's the biggest problem in our generation. We have a bunch of teens who don't know what they want to do, don't know where they want to go, so they try and fill that empty hole with stuff like drugs, parties, hedonistic tendencies, hell, even gang violence if you want to go that far. Now, back then, I'm talking medieval ages, it was really easy to find purpose because if your dad was a welder, you were a welder. If your dad was a shoemaker, you were a shoemaker. Now, it's more difficult because there's a ton of opportunities to contribute to the world. There's so many ways you can make the world a better place. There's so many ways you can impact the world. So which one do you choose? When you're little, you have a bunch of things that you love to do and that put a smile on your face. But as you grow older, people start telling you that's not possible, or that's not real, or yeah, no, don't do that. That's not realistic. Do this instead. And so then you start growing up, and all through school, elementary, middle, and high school, you get put into certain classes. And your mind becomes obsessed on learning about those classes. So that becomes your entire reality. Math, English, science, physics, chemistry, all these subjects become the only thing that you ever think about for the future. So what if you want to become somebody that's not a mathematician, or somebody that's not a physicist or an engineer? What do you do then? Because as you grow up, it's like a funnel. When you're young, you start at the end of the funnel. It's big. There's a lot of opportunities and you can do a bunch of things to impact the world. But then you keep getting told you can't do that. You need to do this. Study these classes. That's not logical. And the funnel starts closing. And at the end of the funnel, you're left with a few opportunities that if you like, great. And if you don't like, fuck you. You're going to do it anyways. And that's the problem that I personally see nowadays as a 17-year-old. So to me, that's the problem with our generation. I ask a lot of my classmates, because I'm a senior in high school, what they're going to study in college. And they're like, business. I'm like, cool, great. So what do you like about business? They're like, well, I don't really like business. It's just I don't know what else to do. So you're telling me that you're going to spend 40K and 4 years of your life on something that you don't really want to do for the rest of your life? Doesn't that seem like a bad investment? Oh, no, because all your friends, all your teachers, all your parents, since you were young, have been telling you that you need to go to college. That's the only way you're going to make any money and the only way you'll ever be successful. How can that be true? How can somebody that doesn't know what they want to do tie themselves down into debt, spend that type of money and 4 years of their life and come out with more knowledge on how to do drugs and party? Because half the people that go to college, let's be honest, that's all they do their whole college experience. And yeah, great, you can say it's a fucking good experience, it's a memorable experience, but is it worth the resources that you give? Wouldn't there be a better alternative? Couldn't we somehow fix the amount of opportunities there are? So there's confusion. People don't know what they want to do. And listen, I'm not going to be a know-it-all. I don't exactly know what I want to do either. That's the reason I'm talking about this. But I have an outline. You see, I've always loved coaching. I've always loved teaching people, helping people, improving people. For example, when I go to the gym and I fight, every time I see somebody worse than me, not to be a dickhead or anything, but I try and teach them because that's what people that were better than me did. And that's how I've learned. So I think I sort of owe it to them. Plus, I enjoy teaching people. So that's why I make these videos, because maybe there's a younger me out there who would have wanted the type of guidance that I'm giving now, and I'm giving it to him. And if there's one kid like that that I've helped, then I've done my job. And that's my purpose. Now, what's your purpose? I don't want you to take this video as a threat that you need to figure it out or you're going to be a failure forever, because there's a bunch of people online that already tell you that if you don't have your purpose figured out by 17, you're going to be a failure. And that's not true, because I don't think many people have it figured out at 17. Hell, I don't think many adults have figured out what they want to do for their lives. They followed the route of college because that's what everybody else did. They got a job they didn't really like, and now they're working in it because they're trapped. They're trapped doing what they don't want to do for basically the rest of their life. Now, what does that sound like to you? If you entered hell, I completely agree with you. But what's the solution? How do we find our purpose? I heard this quote, and don't ask me where it's from because I don't remember. Go search it up yourself, you nerd. But I heard this quote that basically says, find what you enjoy doing the most in your life and identify a big need or problem in the world. Join those two together and you have your purpose. For example, if since you're young you've always liked justice, and when you saw someone being treated poorly, you wanted it to be fair and you stuck up for them, and you know that there is a big necessity for justice in the world, maybe your calling is to be a lawyer. Maybe you would love that. Maybe that would fulfill your purpose. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, the problem with school is that it teaches you that there's only a select amount of jobs that can fulfill your purpose. And that's simply not true. There's so many problems in the world that don't have direct correlation to math, science, physics, all those classes we study. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with studying those classes, because you definitely need a basic of all of those for any endeavor. And it's always good to have more knowledge. But the way it's put out to us is we have to study about something that we don't necessarily like. We don't see the use in our lives at all, because tell me when's the last time you used Pythagorean theorem in your day-to-day life? And then we regurgitate that information onto a piece of paper and we forget it. And we go on to college and do the same thing and fill the gaps with some drugs and parties. And that's life, right? Wrong. I don't want that for myself. I don't think you want that for yourself. So I urge you in this video, if it's the only thing you do, and if you've gotten this far, to really think about what you would want to do for the rest of your life. Ask yourself this question. If you had all the money in the world and time was of the essence and you had all the time in the world, what would you still do? What is an activity you still enjoy and you would do if there was no monetary gain? And if you didn't really gain any popularity from it? And now try to correlate that to a problem you see in the world. And once you get those two, you can impact the world. Now I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, me? How could I impact the world? I'm just one person. Gandhi impacted the world. Martin Luther King impacted the world. And yeah, I'm not going to be Gandhi. I'm not going to be Martin Luther King. But you don't realize that you can impact the world, because impacting the world means impacting one person. Because that person can go on to impact another and another, and it turns into a domino effect. And that is how you start a movement. And that's what I'm trying to do. If I can better one person's life, I've done my goal. And now you may think, yeah, but I can't really help anyone because I don't know anything. But that's not true. Because if you've had any life experience, you know that when you were younger, you had some doubts and you needed advice. And now a few years later, you probably know that advice and you could probably help and answer your younger self. And I assure you, even though you think you're so unique and special, there is a ton of younger yous out there that need that guidance. So at the very least, you owe it to them to give the knowledge that you know. Boom. We found your purpose. Impact the world in a good way. You don't always have to do what the masses say. If the masses move right, it's okay to move left, if that aligns with what you want to do, if that's fulfilling to you. Stop getting put more and more and more into the fucking funnel of life, where your parents tell you have to do this and your teachers tell you have to do that, and you let go of your big idea because they have small minds. Because small ideas don't get remembered, but big ideas start movements, and movements change the world. So, again, if you've gotten anything from this video, it is to start deeply thinking about how you want to impact the world. Because you can actually make a difference, and change is needed right now, as we can see. By the way, look over. Oh, is my phone broken?